What's up, everybody? If you want to join the greatest online Star Wars community, the Fandom Menace, make sure you hit that subscribe button before today's video starts, so you don't miss out on any updates and you're always the first to know when our newest videos go live.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
There's a universal fantasy of all children. What if the toys you played with could play right back? It's an idea that's been a part of pop culture since at least the 1930s. Most times it's the toys coming to life and trying to kill the owner, such as Talkie Tina in The Twilight Zone or Chucky from Child's Play. There, the toys come to life through magic. In other cases, like Small Soldiers, the toys come to life through military-grade weapons chips. And in the case of Toy Story, it's the power of love that brings the toys to life. Maybe. I don't know. No matter how the toys come to life, there always seems to be an audience for these types of tales. Well, at least historically. I was genuinely shocked when I heard that Toy Story 4 is underperforming at the box office. Toy Story? This 24-year-old franchise that hasn't done anything but succeed? Then I did a little research, and while it's not a flop, Toy Story is underperforming. And then I realized there's a bigger problem that the movie industry faces. Cosmic Book News has the story. Disney's Toy Story 4 struggling at box office. The summer box office continues to take a beating as now Disney's Toy Story 4 is struggling this weekend. According to the latest estimates, Toy Story will bring around $122 to $125 million for the 3-day opening weekend, well under Disney's estimates of $140 and under some estimates of the $160 to $200 million range. The $122 to $125 million number is still considered good, and it will come at a franchise best and the third best opening for an animated movie. It just may be that the initial estimates were way too high as Toy Story 3 opened at $110 million. The film has great reviews, but apparently the audience isn't showing up at theaters to match Disney's expectations. I know that in my area I've had an obscene amount of rain in spring and summer, so maybe people were trying to take advantage of the good weather on the weekends, and are skipping the theater and staying outside. It will be interesting to see how well Spider-Man Far From Home performs at the box office during the 4th of July holiday. Also worth mentioning that Disney chose not to debut Toy Story 4 last weekend during Father's Day, which looks like a big mistake. So clearly Toy Story 4 didn't bomb, not even close. But it does show how Hollywood overestimates Disney's appeal. It's common knowledge that Disney has a lot of power, and they're using their vast resources to buy even more of the entertainment landscape. Since our last video, they, Disney, pronouns pal, have purchased Hulu and are positioning themselves as a major player in the streaming game. It would make sense that Disney, who want to launch Disney Plus at the end of the year, would buy up previous infrastructure to build their platform on. But few take into account what happens when Disney buys their competitors. Big things become too disposable. Let's go back in time a few weeks and look at the outright failure that was X-Men Dark Phoenix. For nearly 20 years, Fox has been producing X-Men films. They range from instant classics to Dark Phoenix, and the box office is a roller coaster of success. The new film, Dark Phoenix, is one of the biggest failures both critically and at the box office. Unlike the other X films, Dark Phoenix is the first to be released since the Disney-Fox merger. Normally a film series producing a dud is nothing new, but Dark Phoenix was pushed back multiple times since its initial November 2018 release date, and then sort of was dumped in June with little to no X-Men branding whatsoever. The other X film, New Mutants, is not likely to ever see a release date as Disney keeps pushing it back. That film was slated for an April 2018 release date, but it's now slated for an April 2020 release, though I doubt it'll ever see the light of day. The point I want to hammer home is that Disney is acquiring too many properties. They not only trot them out too often for them to feel special, the films become direct competition for each other, and it's affecting the industry as a whole. CinemaBlend has an interesting take on the situation and why 2019 is poisonous for so many franchises. Avengers Endgame is trying its darndest to top Avatar as the highest grossing movie of all time, but the 2019 box office is still down from last year. How is that possible when the first half of the year has been jam-packed with major franchise movies? Is that part of the problem? It seems like every weekend we hear about a new sequel, spin-off, or reboot underperforming, disappointing, underwhelming, or just otherwise ignored by fans. But you can't just file everything under there are too many sequels/remakes, since franchise movies are doing very well. The top grossing movies of 2019 are Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel, and Aladdin, followed by one original voice in the horror movie, Us. Then it's back to franchises with How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, and John Wick Chapter 3. If anything can rival those titles later this year, it is most likely to be more sequels and remakes like Toy Story 4, The Lion King, and Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. So what went wrong with everyone else, including Dark Phoenix, Men in Black, International, Hellboy, Shaft, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, The Secret Life of Pets 2, Lego Movie 2, the second part, and Dumbo? It's never just one thing. Let's explore some of the reasons why 2019 is not exactly going the way Hollywood planned. Franchise fatigue, aka we didn't ask for this. Who asked for another Men in Black movie, especially one without Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones? It's strange that Chris Hemsworth has criticized some of his past projects that they never really landed on the point of the films. Was that not the concern with Men in Black International? His new spin-off with Tessa Thompson brought their Marvel chemistry to the big screen, but few fans showed up at the box office. I'd also put the Lego 2 movie in this boat, but for different reasons. The Lego movie was popular in 2014, but it was followed by both the Lego Batman movie and the Lego Ninja movie in 2017, before the Lego Movie 2, the second part, in 2019. By the time the new movie showed up in early February, the same month as the 2014 movie, so I'm not so sure I'd blame the release date. It only made $191 million worldwide per Box Office Mojo compared to the $469 million worldwide gross of the first movie. Fans need a break. Put the live-action Dumbo in this boat too after so many Disney remakes, but Aladdin is showing there's still a market for some of them. But did anyone want a Dumbo with a CGI elephant minus the magic of the original? I'd put this one in a mix of no one asking for it and the bad reviews. Does Godzilla King of the Monsters belong in the franchise fatigue group? Do fans just want a break from the franchise after Godzilla and Kong Skull Island? I'm going to say no and save that one for a later category, but you may argue it most belongs here. Bad reviews and buzz, aka it's just bad. Dark Phoenix and Hellboy rule this category. You can't really argue that no one asked for an exploration of the Dark Phoenix saga or even an R-rated Hellboy. Some fans were initially curious, but the reviews of the 2019 Hellboy were abysmal and fans weren't in a rush to disagree. It disappointed just about everyone. Dark Phoenix combined worrisome buzz on reshoots and delays and bad reviews from critics, resulting in the worst opening of the X-Men franchise. It was the wrong way to close out the series. The only thing in Dark Phoenix's favor was the fan response arguing that it wasn't quite as bad as Apocalypse. I might also put Shaft in there. The critics that didn't like it seemed to hate it, but fans who watched it seemed to love it. Those fans were few and far between. Was that from bad marketing? Bad time of year with too much competition? Did no one want this Shaft sequel? Or could it have just used a different title so people didn't think it was a reboot? Too much competition, aka reconsider your release dates. Spring/summer is usually a big time for movies, but there used to be just a handful of tentpole movies across the seasons, and now we've had multiple to be blockbusters competing within the same months. It's unsustainable. I also put Godzilla King of the Monsters here. It got some negative reviews, but its 40% rating isn't exactly abysmal, and fans seem to like it with an 84% rating. It managed to win its opening weekend, but its $47 million opening is way down from Godzilla's $93 million opening. Is that a bad sign for Godzilla vs. Kong, which is still to come next year? I still see a lot of excitement for that, but it's going to be a theory that there was just too much competition for Godzilla to properly shine at the end of May. The Monsterverse is also judged by a different metric than, say, John Wick. John Wick will make money from that, unlike so many of the big-budget behemoths. Like Godzilla 2 that made $93.6 million domestic so far and $245 foreign, a lousy gross compared to the $529 million for Godzilla and $566 worldwide for Kong Skull Island. So as you can see, there are a lot of reasons why Toy Story seems to be underperforming. But wait, there's a little more. So to take it back to the beginning, toys. Toys that come to life on film. We've seen reports that Toy Story 4 underperformed compared to its initial speculation, but by other accounts, it's a success. It's hard to call a $118 million opening weekend a failure, but sometimes, when the speculation is too high, anything short of it is a failure. Now, you may have considered Comic Book News' report to be premature and dismissed it, but other sources are saying essentially the same thing. First off, Toy Story 4 lost its 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomato, with a review from ABC News Australia that reads, "For every flash of inspiration, Toy Story 4 keeps running into narrative dead ends, and the filmmakers inevitably fall back on adult-oriented emotional grasping when the inventiveness wears thin." Now, just for calculation, I don't take any pride in Toy Story 4 getting one bad review. I like Toy Story. A lot, actually. But for me, it ended at Part 3, and I will pass on Part 4. But back to its performance. Sites like Deadline are proclaiming that Disney has left money on the table with Toy Story 4. Uproxx talks about sequelitis, and this site is even going so far as to say, in a summer that's running 6.5% off the pace from last year, according to ComScore, many had positioned Toy Story 4 as a surefire savior, due in part to the enviable track record of Disney and Pixar. Disney's Aladdin remake this weekend passed $800 million worldwide. Instead, the weekend went down 27.2% from the same time last year. Overwhelming the industry's market leader, Disney was thought to be immune to any sequel downturn. So that's how Toy Story 4's opening will be remembered. The big film that wasn't big enough to do bigger. Time will tell if Toy Story 4 has the legs required to make $1 billion at the box office worldwide. Or will Spider-Man Far From Home? But no matter how you feel about this opening weekend, there's a big change coming for entertainment, and not even Disney is immune to it. So that's it for today. How do you interpret this? It's not just one source saying that Toy Story 4 underperformed. It seems to be a pretty common critique of the film's opening. Now, I think it's important to take into account the overestimation of Disney films. Everyone thinks, oh, it's got Disney on it, it's going to be a huge success. But historically, over the last, we'll just say 19 years, Disney's had a lot of failures as well as a lot of successes. I mean, does anyone remember Mars Needs Moms? That movie had a budget of well over $100 million and it brought in just $39 million. It looked like shit, it probably was shit, and it did fail. And then there are other movies that Disney will make, like a Tron Legacy, which I loved, bought the soundtrack. I think I even have a Tron t-shirt somewhere. But the point is, I really got into Tron, but even though it made about $400 million, it still wasn't enough. Maybe we need to have the discussion about film budgeting. What needs to cost as much? Do we need to allocate resources? I mean, personally, we don't need to do anything. All of us here listening don't have anything to do with it. But maybe Hollywood needs to take that into account, because technology is getting better and better. Smaller productions are able to match some of the CGI and the special effects. And you need the big spectacle to get you out in theaters. Like the writer from Cinema Blend, I too want to go see Godzilla. I just haven't had a chance. But I did stop everything I was doing to go see Avengers, which we're about 2 months out from, and the only other movie I had to see opening weekend was John Wick 3. That's a series I've considered to get better and better with each film. Avengers I had to see because it was the big event, it was the end of an era. Toy Story, the story ended. Useless sequels don't really get a lot of hype, but that's all Hollywood seems to make. They cash in on this branding, the brand name. Oh, we're guaranteed to make $1 billion, no matter what, because it has the Toy Story brand or the Disney logo on it. That's nice, that's fun, that's dandy, but sometimes it doesn't work, and I think it's starting to happen at a quicker rate, especially for Disney. As they now own Fox, as they own all of these different things, there could be a time in the future where every other week is a Disney film, and every other week a movie comes out, does well its opening weekend, and then it just stops dead in its tracks because here comes the next film from Disney. Sometimes you gotta let stuff go, you gotta let the legs run on it. Believe me, I know, I've done it here on YouTube a lot. So folks, before you head out, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure your bell notification is turned on so you don't miss any of our videos. We've had a couple people contact us and say that our videos aren't showing up in their news feed, and that's a big problem. So if YouTube is trying to keep us from you, well, seek us out. We'll be here every Monday producing new content, and every Thursday night with a new podcast at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we record it live, so get involved in the community. Speaking of community, we're over on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. It's a lot of fun. People make friendships. They become buddies. They talk about entertainment. It's easy to access us there. So if you want to get involved with the Fandom Menace, the World Class Bullshitters fan page is one of the best ways to do it. Also, we're over on Patreon. We have all kinds of exclusive content. We have something really big coming your way soon. So, as of this recording, the video's not done yet, it's not ready, but over on Patreon, we're going to have a nearly 90-minute roundtable discussion on Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone. You want to talk about branding gone wrong? You want to talk about stealing an IP and trying to mold it and bastardize it into 2019? Well, Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone, well, you'll just have to listen to us talk about it later in the week. So that should be out on Wednesday. That'll be at our $5 tier. We have other tiers, so if you feel so inclined, join us over there. Hundreds and hundreds of hours of content, as well as a podcast every Thursday night after World Class Bullshitters. It's World Class Bullshitters After Dark. So, folks, thank you for watching, and as always, be excellent to each other.